Welcome to another edition of Climb Your Mountain, the movement, everyday leadership for everyday people with Dr. Justin. I'm so excited that you decided to join us for another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about why most people never climb their mountain, or as you might have seen in the thumbnail text, you stop climbing. Pay attention. This one's going to be good. All right. Look, everybody see my little figure? Little guy here, action. This is his little mountain. You might can't see the thought bubble good, but it says, help, I'm stuck. And if you, like me, have ever been in that position of being stuck, thinking about what it was that you wanted to accomplish, starting to try to accomplish that thing, and then getting part of the way up there before realizing, oh my gosh, I'm afraid of heights. That'd be bad, right? I remember when I was growing up in the Army, and one of the first things I had to do at airborne school was jump out of planes. But before they let you jump out of a perfectly good airplane, they have you go out of a mock airplane. It's about 50 feet up, so not very high, but it's designed to simulate because I guess to the mind, after a certain amount of distance from the ground, it all looks exactly the same. Now, whatever science that was, when I first started out, I would kind of question that science today. But what I'll tell you is that I stood in that doorway and the guy goes through the same exact commands that he would have went through when I was standing on the plane. And he said, green light, go, and I froze. I was stuck. I was stuck halfway up my mountain, halfway to my goal, because more than anything, I wanted to be an airborne soldier. I wanted to jump out of planes. My dad had jumped out of planes. They had red berets. They had shiny boots. They were the epitome of awesomeness. And I was excited about being one of those guys. And then, oh my goodness, actually turns out I don't want to jump out of this plane. And it's not even a real plane. It's a mock plane. It's a door. So what did that mean for me? I had to overcome that fear. I had to overcome that moment and actually get myself out that door so that I could get into the top of that mountain that I was looking to get to. I could finish that journey. And so what I want to talk to you today is how to finish that journey yourself. How to go from being partly halfway up the mountain to all the way at the top of the mountain. And here at the CYM movement, we use the Climb Your Mountain as a metaphor for the journey of accomplishing your goals. This is the reality as I know it. If I'd have stayed stuck right there in that doorway, unhooked myself from the parachute, hung my head in shame and walked back down that hallway, climbed back down those stairs and walked out of there, I would have forever in my mind known myself as a quitter. That would have changed my entire approach. That would have changed and affected everything that I did. But I looked at that guy who gave me those commands. I laughed. I said, I froze, didn't I? He said, you did. I said, well, let's do it again. And sure enough, he ran through those same commands. I did a switch in my mind. And when he said, green light, go, I took one step, I turned, and I threw myself out into the air. And thankfully, I was attached to a zip line. And the zip line zipped me on down. But the reality is, I would replicate that less than a week later at an altitude of around 1,300 to 1,400 feet and turned. And this time, there was no hesitation. When it said green light, go, I handed him my static line. I made that left turn and I stepped right out into the breeze, trusting my equipment and the process and training that I've been through would get me down safely to the ground. And as you can see, your boy is still here, so it must have worked out. And that's what I want for you. I want you to work out whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. I don't want you to stay stuck here on the mountain. Instead, I want you to get to the mountaintop. So let's get into it. Let's talk about why it is that people never climb their mountain. All right, so sometimes people don't climb their mountain because, and I think this is the number one thing, they did not prepare. No, prepare. All right, let's be real. I can't accomplish anything that I ever want to accomplish if I don't prepare for it. All right, preparation can look different for many different people, but whatever it is, the thing that you're trying to accomplish, you need to actually have a plan for it. So, for example, let's say you want to lose weight. Lose weight. In fact, I'm going to write these things that we want to do here under our mountains because our mountains simulate what it is that we're doing. So we're going to go lose weight. What's another one people like to do? Great, that's right. Make money. Okay, and usually not just because they want to make money generally, it's because it's tied to something else, like buy a house, or a car, which ultimately helps us to create a better life. And I would wager that most people's mountains have at the very core of what they're trying to accomplish this idea that this journey is going to allow me to create a better life. And ultimately, everything that we do here at the CYM movement and everyday leadership for everyday people is all about helping you to create a better life. Okay, so we know that the first thing in order for somebody to be able to create a better life is they have to prepare. They have to prepare because things are going to change along the way. Understand that the person who starts here at the bottom of the mountain and is looking up is not the same person that gets to the top of the mountain and is looking down. Those are two different people, okay? And so you have to be prepared mentally for the shift that's going to occur. If I was to tell you how you could make $1 million, you'd probably look at me like, oh man, that's really, really intense. And then you would say something like, I don't know if I can do that. And that's the truth of the matter. The person at the bottom doesn't know yet that they can become the person at the top. They've never experienced that. But that transition, those changes, the things that you're going to deal with as you're walking through this path, as you're making that climb, they make you stronger, they make you faster, they make you better. And I don't literally necessarily mean faster. Although if your journey is to become an Olympic gold medalist in the 100-meter dash, you're going to become faster, right? Whatever that goal is that you set for yourself on that journey, it's going to involve a transformation from who you are into the person who is doing the thing that you want to do. If you think, however, that you can stay the same in this journey and be that person, well, I got news for you. And this is going to hurt. It doesn't work that way. As much as we like to keep everything the same and stay the same, the reality is it doesn't work that way. I have to be prepared to change. Okay. Now, preparation, I'm going to add a second P. All right. Do you have a plan? Okay. Now, this preparation piece is a mindset thought. I'm thinking about the fact that I'm going to change and I'm willing to endure whatever it takes. And I'm going to go through whatever comes my way in order to accomplish the things I want to accomplish, because this goal really matters, right? Why do I know it matters? Because it's going to create a better life for me. Now, I'm not doing anything that's going to cause change if I have not experienced enough pain in what I'm doing to endure the pain that's going to come. All right. And I'm going to do a different class on that, so be on the lookout for that one. But if the pain of what I'm in isn't greater than the pain of the change that's going to come my way for me to leave, then I'm never going to change anything. All right. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But I have to be prepared mentally to accept that it's going to be painful for me to change. I'm going to have to give up some habits. I'm going to have to do some things differently. I'm going to have to approach some things from a different perspective. I may have to learn some stuff. I may have already learned a lot of stuff, so not to learn some new stuff, and I may not want to do learning anymore. These things all may happen, but that's the mindset I have to be in. I have to be prepared to endure that. Okay, so that's part one. But part two, I have to have a plan to accomplish that. Okay, it can't be haphazard. It can't be, I don't want to do this today. I'm going to do something else. Oh wait, that was harder than I thought. Now I'm going to go do something else. That didn't work out either. Maybe I'll take today off. I'll come back tomorrow. What are we doing? Okay, this is where we even get in more trouble. Okay, so. I'm a big fan of exercise advice. Okay, I like to work out. It's a core part of who I am. Part of that is because of my job. Part of that because of the competitive fire that I have inside of me. And so I'm always looking for an edge. I'm always looking for an advantage. And so I'm open to other people's ideas about how to exercise and how to get better. But what I can't do is every single day try a different workout plan. You with me? Okay, so if one person is like, hey, this is a 4-week workout plan, but I do day one of their workout plan, and then the next day I'm on Instagram and I'm like, ooh, they look like they got a really good pump. Let me do that. And then the next day I'm on Instagram and I'm like, ooh, look at how they did theirs. Let me do that. What will I accomplish? Really nothing at the end of the day, because I'm too busy jumping around to different plans. So I need to have one plan for how I'm going to accomplish it. And I need to have an understanding of how long it's going to take. So we got time. what I'm trying to accomplish. So we got my goals and how to know if it's actually working. So that's my feedback mechanism. And I'm just gonna write MECH to be short for mechanism. Okay, so 3 things in my plan. A timeline, how long is it gonna take? Now, I'm gonna write here times 2. Because especially when we're beginning to climb our mountain and we're prepared for the mental, one of the things we tend to do is we tend to underestimate how hard it's gonna be and also how long it's gonna take us. All right, so we're overestimating our ability and underestimating how difficult it's gonna be. And that will get you in trouble faster than anything else. It's actually better to reverse that, to underestimate your abilities and overestimate how long it's gonna take you. So we call this the rule of 2. Whatever the amount of time that I'm saying it's gonna take me. So if I'm gonna go back to the lose your weight piece, and I'm saying I'm gonna lose 10 pounds, and I'm gonna do it in 3 months, well, I want you to double that and give yourself room for all the things that happen in life. Birthdays, anniversaries, parties at work, binges, breakups, ice cream socials, your favorite food goes on sale, right? And all of a sudden, now your cabinet is sabotaging you. We'll talk about the things that sabotage us in a different video, but all of a sudden, your cabinet is sabotaging you and preventing you, and now it's time for you to step on the scale at the 3-month mark. You've only lost 5 pounds, you're feeling depressed and terrible. You ask yourself, why did I even think I could ever do this in the first place? And you turn around and eat 2 tubs of ice cream and you gain those 5 pounds back the next night. Crazy, I know, but also somebody felt seen. All right, so I'm not attempting to attack anybody. I just want us to be on the same page. If you had gave yourself twice as much time, then let's say at 4 months, you actually hit your goal because at 3 months, you were at 7 pounds instead of 10. You're not upset with yourself because you know you have a little bit more time. And then when 4 months comes along and you hit that 10 pounds mark, boom, and now I've bought myself 2 more times to do some other things that I want to do. 2 more months, to do some other things that I want to do. So when I'm making my plan, the first thing I want to do is have a timeline or time limit. And then I want to put whatever that amount of time I think initially, I want to go ahead and multiply that by 2. Now, as you continue to get better, you will actually be able to a little bit better judge how long it's actually going to take you to do things. But always give yourself just a little bit more time just in case, because sometimes things who you're working with, people who you're working with, systems and situations, things change and you don't know what will happen. All right, number 2, again, under my plan, what is my goal? Do I have a clear picture of what my goal is? Again, I can say I want to lose weight, but losing weight is not a great goal unless it's attached to a number. And is this ounces? Is this kilograms? Is this pounds? Is this liters, right? Is it just losing weight, or do I also want to sculpt? Do I have a certain picture? Is it losing weight, but also I want to be able to lift more? Is it losing weight, but I actually want to be able to run faster? Is it losing weight because in order for me to get this job or join this organization, I actually have to be at a certain number? There's a height to weight ratio, right? Like losing weight isn't just enough. I need to have a specific type of goal. Now there's all kinds of things out there about like SMART goals and types of goals that you need in order to make whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish happen. And those are really helpful. You can go into that. I'm not here to show that today for this class, but I just want to make sure that you know that you have to have very clear goals. All right. And I want to suggest to you that you have to actually have also an anchor. So I'm going to draw this little anchor thing piece right here. My drawing is terrible, but that's okay. That's not my skill. All right. An anchor to why you're doing this. Okay, so your anchor ties back into your motivation. So even if I say I want to lose this weight so that I can get this job, the reality is if I have a job already, about halfway through that journey, I'm going to be like, man, getting up again. I'm going to start to plateau on my weight progress. I'm going to be like, I don't want to get up. I'm tired. My body hurts. I'm sore. But if you have an anchor, I'm doing this because a clear identity, a clear why, then there's nothing that's going to stop you from being able to accomplish your goal. Okay, then the third part of my plan is the feedback mechanism. How do I know if my plan is actually working? So most people stop climbing because they're halfway through the climb, but they lose sight of the fact that they're actually getting closer to their journey. Now, in a real mountain, it kind of is easy, right? If I'm like partially up the mountaintop, I can just look back down and be like, oh yeah, I passed that point. Look at how much further I am. Or look, wow, the summit is actually closer to me than initially expected. But in life, as we're progressing and we're walking through our journey, oftentimes we can lose sight of both the beginning and the end. In the Army, they redid this PT test, but we used to have a 2-mile PT test as a part of our 3-event PT test that we used to take. And so the hardest part for me in that PT test was the quarter mile that occurred after a 1 mile down and back PT test. Okay, so sometimes we would do our PT test on a track. So it's just 8 laps. You always knew where you were. You could see the finish line from wherever point you were on the track. But we would do the mile down and back. Oftentimes it would be just a slight little hill. We would crest it, hit the turnaround point, run back up and down, and then 3/4 of the mile down was the finish line. And the quarter mile from where you had just turned around was back here, and you couldn't see anything in between. You couldn't see the finish line, you couldn't see the turnaround point. And it was always there where I would feel my body like, oh man, do you really still want to keep running fast? It's kind of hurting right now. You've been pushing yourself. Maybe we should go ahead and slow down a little bit and catch your breath. And if I gave in that moment, I was guaranteed to run slower than the time that I wanted to actually get. But if I could persevere, if I could push through when I couldn't see the finish line and I had lost sight of the turnaround point, I would be able to accomplish the things I needed to do. So my point simply being, you need a feedback mechanism to help let you know, keep going. Don't slow down. Don't give up. You're actually now closer to the top than you were to the bottom. What does that feedback mechanism look like? All right, so I'm gonna give you a couple options. Number 1, do you journal? Okay, now why is a journal important? And is there a specific format? No, there's no specific format. Yes, there are good practices, and I'll do a different class on that. And also, you'll be able to purchase our journal, the Everyday Leader for Everyday Leadership for Everyday People journal online to help you with this. But you need a feedback mechanism because that is in the form of a journal, because a journal lets you capture your journey. Journaling your journey, all right? And what I'm looking for when you do this is, I just want to write down what I wanted to accomplish, what I did accomplish, and how I can get better. And then over the course of weeks, months, years, as you're progressing towards the various goals and climbing the various mountains in your life, you'll be able to look back and see, whoa, look at where I was, look at where I've come to. And we all do this. We all have the ability to do this. But if we don't have a set time and a set place, then we find ourselves short on this. And so I have all of these old books where I used to just keep notes when I would go out into the field and train my soldiers. And I would make notations about how their performance was and who was showing leadership capabilities. And I can go back and look at those things. And in the very writing about how I looked at other people and diagnosed their skill set, I see the growth and maturation that brought about my own. Because I wasn't Dr. Justin back then, and I wasn't a strategic leader in the same way that I am operating right now. And so there's a maturation process that has come that tells me, as I look at those old comments and I think about the way I analyze talent now, that I've made progress. And in the same way, if you look back and you're like, ooh, today was hard. I ran for 10 minutes and I got half a mile and I couldn't breathe and everything on my body was in pain, to turn the page 3 months later, I was able to run for 3 miles today. It took me about 45 minutes and nothing hurt after. So even if right now you just came off a 5 mile run and you're like, man, my 5 mile run did not go well today. I ran too fast. My body was hurting. I really feel like I took a step back. All you have to do is flip the page the opposite way to remember when it took you 20 minutes to run 1 mile. For you to be like, oh, actually, I guess the fact that I can run 5 miles is pretty impressive, considering there was a time where I couldn't run 1 mile in 10 minutes. Does that make sense, everybody? So I need a feedback mechanism to keep me on my journey so that I don't stop climbing because I can't yet see the top. And this feedback mechanism tells me that my plan is actually working the way I want it to so that I can continue to accomplish the things I need to. All right, so why do people stop climbing? Why do they never climb their mountain? Number one, they didn't prepare. Number two, they didn't plan. Number three, all right, number three is consistency. This is kind of like the plan, but this goes into implementation of the plan, okay? So if I didn't prepare, if I didn't plan, sure, I'm gonna be in trouble, all right? But if I prepare and I plan and I'm not consistent, then I will fail, all right? The mountain will only get bigger. Now watch this. I'm just gonna write this here. Time never stops. All right, time never stops. This is important. The only way that time stops for a person is if they're dead. So as long as you're alive, then time will never stop, which means something's going to be what it's going to be 5 years from now, regardless of whether or not you did something. Okay, now let me expound on that for just a moment because you might have missed the importance of this. 5 years from now, you are going to be exactly what you are 5 years from now. The only difference will be whether you were there because you're consistent and you planned for it, or you're there by virtue of doing somebody else's whatever their thing was for you. And I wish that more people could have an understanding of this because then you would maybe be more motivated to go out there and live your life. You can look at life and be like, oh, well, look at what's going on. Oh, well, look at all the people doing all the bad things. Oh, well, the system's not fair. Oh, well, I can't believe they're in charge. Oh, well, XYZ. And then you'll say something like, I'll just wait until that changes to do my thing. And 5 years goes by. Or you can begin today doing the little things that will enable you to execute and achieve what it is that you want to, so that 5 years from now, you're exactly where you want to be, doing exactly what it is that you want to do. And if not exactly where you want to be, you're a lot closer to it than you were today. Because you cannot execute a plan and get to wherever you want to go unless you do so with consistency. All right, your body will be sore every single time you work out. If you work out once a week, it will. Your body will completely go right back to the way it was, and then you'll work out and be like, why are we doing this? I thought we talked about this last week. This is a bad idea. When I told you it was a bad idea, you stopped working out, so why are we now back here to do it again? Remember, I told you this is a bad idea. Okay, let's wait till tomorrow. Oh, see, it hurts. All right, so let's sleep in. No. I have to every single day, if that is my plan, or every other day, if that is my plan, with consistency, strive to be better. To execute the things that I have already wrote out and that I've already laid out and I've already planned for and I've already wrote up. I must be consistent. Time never stops. Okay, here, let me add one more thing about time. It's a limited, I spelled that wrong, so I'm just going to abbreviate it. It's a limited resource. You don't know when your time will stop. I don't either, for what it's worth. I could be in the middle of doing this video and then just, all right, but if I did, that wouldn't be the worst way to go out because I'd be doing what it is my purpose, right? Which is hopefully helping you to become a little better at the thing it is that you're here to do. But it's limited. All of us are on the clock. It's ticking. And when we get ourselves caught up in all the other things that we do, we sometimes get distracted from being consistent. So our inconsistency then becomes the reason why we never go up the mountain. In fact, our journey looks like this. We go up, and then we come back down, and then we go up, and then we come back down, and then we go up, and then we come back. We will never see the top of our mountain if that's how we execute on the day-to-day basis. And so I want you to understand that if you prepare, if you have a plan, if you're consistent, the you stop climbing will never be applicable to you. What will be applicable is you keep achieving. You keep achieving your goals. You keep climbing your mountaintops. You keep making it to the top. And so if you found yourself stuck partly way up the side of the mountain, help, I'm stuck, please help me. Go back and look at how you prepared for it. Are you resisting the change and transformation that's coming? Embrace it. Double tap your plan. Make sure that the time that you've allocated yourself is reasonable, that the goals you set are anchored to the changes you want to accomplish, and that you have a proper feedback mechanism in place so that you can actually see the progress you've made. And then finally, verify that you're being consistent. Make sure that day in and day out, you are actually achieving a little bit more of what it is that you want to do. And if you're stuck, feel free to comment climb, and I'll help you move out again. We'll get you to the top of that mountain where I'll be. Okay? Thanks for coming and being a part of today's training. Keep climbing. I'll see you at the mountaintop.